Welcome to this graduation show of the Visual Games and Media Design Program 2020. I'm Jesper Juhl, head of the program here at KDK in Copenhagen, also known as the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts Schools of Architecture, Design and Conservation. So let me first say something to those of you watching and then to the graduating students. To those of you watching, the point of the Visual Game and Media Design Master Program is to create an environment where we can work together across many different backgrounds, where we can work creatively in the broader field of games, of storytelling and media, a program where we can combine visual design with story worlds, with interaction design. We feel that while it may be the case that, say, video games and television have their own specificities, they also share many techniques and now tools, and as a creative practitioner, being able to see above your regular medium is always inspiring. So that's what we're trying to do, and we feel that the showcase today demonstrates an amazing range of important work, from visual design to game design to animation, from entertainment to projects that try to make a change. And to the graduating students, it has of course been a strange and stressful time. Many of you were happy to work together in now abandoned workspaces. And it's also been a time where the arc of the universe hasn't always felt like it was bending in the right direction. So let's hope for that. And of course, when you're making your final project, you don't really need any extra strangeness or stressfulness. But you dealt with it well. And yet, I don't want to say that because you dealt with it so well, that you adjusted your projects to a new situation, or that your themes acquired new meaning, that all of that didn't matter. It was hard, and it did matter. What we do when we create a program through endless meetings and spreadsheets is really just to set up a rough script that it's for you as students to make to come to life. So thank you for that, and thanks for deciding to spend 2 precious years of your life with us. We hope you come away with many skills, ideas, and friends. That's what it looks like to us. We hope you will be able to make at least many of the things that you hope to make, and to help make whatever changes that need to be made in your industries. As program head, and along with all the internal and external speakers and staff, we're thankful for the opportunity to present the Visual Game and Media Design graduates of 2020. This is now structured such that each student presents for around 4 minutes in dialogue with a supervisor, and all of this is interspersed with cameos from the local game industry. And at the end, the whole class will do a final wave. Thank you.
Hello and congratulations on your final exams at the design school. I'm really excited to follow where you're gonna take your education in the future. And remember, you can always reach out to me and Triple Topping if you want any advice on your portfolios. I think one advice I want to give you today is that even though it can feel intimidating to enter into the industry, don't just accept any kind of job offer. You actually have a great talent. You have shown that with taking this education. So you also have the right to ask for a fair treatment and a good salary when you go find your job in the future. So with that said, I just want to say from us at Triple Topping, Tillykke! Yay!
Hello, everyone. I'm Alessandro Canossa. I'm an associate professor at the design school, and I'm here to present the fantastic work of 3 of my students. We start with Alexis, whose project is Subsist. Do you want to introduce it quickly, Alexis?
Yes, it is a game where the main goal is to manage the food, energy, and waste in a region. And also, depending on how the player manages this system, some events pop up. I call them cataclysms. And players have to adapt to them because they disrupt the way the strategies that they were playing. So, and the idea of the game is to transform players in a way to increase their notions or awareness regarding sustainability and how we produce food and consume food.
So yeah, we've been working together this project for months, and I'm very impressed on the way you designed it. So the method you put together to brainstorm, to conceptualize, and to come up with the first draft, I think is quite novel. It's very thoroughly researched, and at the same time, it has a very personal input from your side. Do you want to talk quickly how you came up with the draft or the idea?
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like, I think projects are a kind of representation of what designers are, or what they want to create. And so the idea came with an intrigue regarding waste and how we can give value again to this material. And then, so the work I did involved doing some user research to understand how some people or users may understand or have a perspective regarding sustainability. And I asked them to gather some images, and this was very helpful to understand how they see the world in a sense, but also to, like, these images they gathered, they helped me to create like a visual language for the game. And then it was very challenging to decide what concepts would be inside of the game, because sustainability is so broad. So this user research helped me to define what I wanted to put in the game. And then since the game is a simulator game, there are many values and variables going on. So it's a great challenge is to decide how to balance all these all the resources in the game, all the food that you can produce, the energy. One challenge is how do you define all these values? So I did some thorough balancing work. I used a design tool called Machinations. It's like very useful to visualize how resources flow inside a system. So and it's like a very fun tool because you can see, like, with charts how values are evolving through time. And with that in mind, I had to consider what were my objectives, what I wanted to tell with the game. So this balancing was essential to make the values work in a way that the system and the way players play would convey the messages of the project.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, Alexis, what are you mostly proud about during the work for this project?
Well, I think I'm a graphic designer from Mexico, and I think I've always been intrigued with how we can interact with media. So, like, crafting this prototype, I think it's one of the most things I'm most proud of, and also, like, talking with people who supported me and helped me to craft this prototype, and also all the testers and the research I made. All of this gave me very interesting information to make a profound project.
Okay, thank you. Hello, welcome back. I'm here with Maruja. We've been also working together for the past few months in a very interesting project that involved developing a method to validate the artist's insight when creating storyboards and concept art. So Maruja, do you want to talk quickly about what your project is about and what is the contribution, why it's different?
Yes, well, as the title says, the title of my thesis is called Visual Development of an Original Tale, and I wanted to focus on concept art and storyboarding came up with a short story idea that I then brought to life through a set of illustrations that could be turned into an animation film or some other visual media. What was important for me was the whole process from the idea that you have and then creating this believable world with believable characters. And the story is about a young elf who has lived her whole life in a small forest village with her family, but as she grew up, she must witness the nature around her getting destroyed for profit. I also wanted to test out if viewers actually look at the painting the way that I intended them to by using an eye tracking device, but then we couldn't do that because of the corona situation. So I ended up just doing a service with just asking people what it is that they see and what they feel about or like what they feel when they look at the image. And yeah, that's the short of it.
Okay, and so given your interest in concept art and visualization of storytelling, what do you see yourself doing in a couple of years?
Well, hopefully this, or maybe even being an art director. So yeah, that's kind of why I also chose to do this as my master project, because I wanted to create pieces that would look good on my portfolio, and then I could then use to apply for the jobs that I want.
Some years ago, when talking to game designers about data validation of their designer insights, I remember the objection of one of them saying, Picasso didn't need any validation. What do you think about this sentence? How do you feel about it?
Well, I think that Picasso, he also said that he spent like 4 years trying to learn how to be a master artist, but then he spent his whole time on learning that and trying to paint as a child. So I think there is something that maybe some basics that you need to be a good artist or to work in this industry, but then some of the rules are only there as guidelines and you don't need to follow all of this like strictly to the point.
All right. Thank you. I think we need to move on to Victor.
Okay.
Thank you. Victor, your project was particularly interesting because you didn't just set out to create a 3D character, but you also explore the expressive capability of different tools and different pipelines.
So my project is called Fabricating and Comparing 3D Character Pipelines for Video Games. The general idea was to try and map out the processes of creating a 3D character using industry standard pipelines. And I think there are quite a lot of interesting aspects of this process, since it's not only looking at the specific creation of the character from a creative standpoint, but it's also trying to sort of imitate the industry in the many methods and software to go about creating these characters. So first of all, I think for me, an interesting aspect of this production lies in try to map out how to go about using the tools for this sort of creation. And since you have as many software as there are ways of creating them, it's like I needed to sort of like have an idea of how to approach the specific creation, right? Yeah, so I don't know if that answers the question.
Thank you. So in terms of the biggest challenge, the biggest hurdle, what was during the project?
Well, I think I spent quite a lot of hours trying to figure out how to to go about using the software, and then it generally took days, weeks to get acquainted with using the different tools and understanding the work path that goes into creating these the different assets.
So how many packages did you explore? How many different software did you work with?
Right. For this specific project, I used 4 or 5 different software, I believe, trying to sort of like map them up. Yeah.
Okay. And your plans for the future?
It's gonna be a little bit of everything. Generally, I'm interested in the video game industry, but this work can also be used for many other things, exploring like new media and how to set up 3D development for other mediums. I think it has a lot of potential.
Great. Thank you, Victor. Back to you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Caroline here. I think most of you guys know me. For those who don't, I used to teach at the KDK at the Game Line, and now I work as an artist at Portaplay. So I want to congratulate you all on graduating. That's so cool. I hope you had a great time despite stresses and other obstacles. I hope you guys have a good time celebrating, and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions about applying for jobs, internships, freelancing, anything. So I will look forward to see you on the other side. Bye.
Here we go. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Arthur.
Good to see you after the exam. And yeah, why don't you tell a little bit about your project, which also changed the title on the way?
Yeah, it did.
So tell us the title again.
Yeah, so I have created a concept for a game I call Dog Journeys. It used to be called A Dog's Life, but since I stumbled upon another game called Dog's Life, it kind of makes sense to change it. But yeah, so my main focus in my master thesis project has been to become a better UX designer, actually. I see that it's, I think, a very valuable role to have in the game industry these days. A lot of people are looking for UX and UI designers. So I decided to give it a go and spend my last half year at school to get more knowledge of all the user research methods and how you conduct user research, and yeah, just teaching myself as much as possible before leaving this great school.
Yeah, I think that was a very good idea. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your concept and game.
Yeah, so hopefully everyone can see a video on the screen. But I think depending on how far you are, you will see that I have created a lot of like just still concept images for the game. My initial inspiration is the game concept I created in collaboration with Simon Jon Andreasen from the National Film School. We had an idea and I decided to use that as my reference game, and it was like in the initial stage, so it was really easy to just put a lot of user research and do whatever with it I wanted because it was so new. And we decided to go for the look of Beatrix Potter, combined with other kind of retro, vintagey art styles. Decided to see if it was possible for children in our target group, 7 to 10-year-old children, to see if they even like to look at this type of style, even though most games today have a totally different approach to visualizing the.
You also let them choose, eh? So you made interviews with kids to see what styles fit. So you didn't just choose a style, but you actually involved the future user.
I did my best, even though we had the coronavirus checking in the middle of everything. So my entire target group kind of vanished and wasn't really able to be reached because all schools were closed. So I had some interviews. I tried to conduct with whoever I was capable of reaching. and did some interviewing, and we found, I tried to see what kind of art style would they like, and just also seeing concerning dogs, like how are children thinking about dogs, also interviewing dog owners to learn more about how you have a dog and how you walk it, to make the most suitable user experience. My focus was to create the feeling of taking care of the dog, so you kind of get a responsibility as a child in the game, and you maybe prepare yourself for adopting a real dog sometime in your life.
Exactly. And it was also a new experience for you as a non-dog owner.
Yeah, I've only had rabbits, so I have no children in that age group. I've never had a dog, and UX design was completely new to me. Well, not completely, but rather new. So I just jumped right into it, and I think it ended up really well. I'm really happy with the results. You know, when we have had the coronavirus, it wasn't easy. So yeah, I would say that I did my best, and I have a concept that I look forward to continuing to work on here in the summer.
And your exam also went really well. Now, I don't know about the timing.
No, 3 minutes, was it? Or
maybe. But I would like to hear, like, how do you see the future? Because you want to work on with this project, but for yourself, would you like to...
Well, I see myself as I am already into the entire field of creating art. So I like to attach this new talent, I would say, creating some UI, UX design, and put myself into projects as the UI, UX designer. So whatever user research I will conduct and the user experience that a certain project would like to have, I would love to create UI for, and also conduct more tests. I feel great about reaching out to whoever is a possible user and talk to people and get some feedback.
Very good. Yeah, I think we had to round up. I got a message.
Yeah, I think so.
And thank you very much, Hannah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, hello. The former session went a bit fast, so I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Arthur Stein, and I'm a teaching associate professor. And here we take a look at the project that Caspar made, the Forsaken Tribe of Uto. And maybe, Caspar, you would like to start with talking a little bit about the original aim. What would you like to achieve with your big game project?
My original aim for the project was to develop a game that I could work on after I finished graduation, and the focus on the project was to develop a good character controller with a focus on game feel, and I developed this vertical slice of the game, which is Metroidvania seen from a bird's eye perspective, in which to explore a large open world.
You everything we see here is made by you. So you did the programming, you did the design, you did the character design, the animation.
Yeah, I developed almost everything, with the exception of the lowest detail stones, which was an asset I got.
Okay, and to be able to create it, it's only, as you say, it's a slice. It's a slice of also of a bigger story world. Can you tell us a little bit about your story world? How that?
This story world has the premise of it being set in a world abandoned by God in the midst of the creation myth. So you explore an unfinished world where you have to uncover the mysteries behind why God left the world. And to do that, you have to find 10 altars and overcome 10 trials. and then each of these altars will give you a blessing that gives you a new power.
And this is one of the areas that you explore, and then there will be 9 more, as I understand.
Yeah, I'm not even sure this is one of them.
Okay, one of the tests. Can you tell us a bit, because you did many things? Can you tell us a bit about some of the things that you achieved? You made like animation blending. You developed shapes. You developed.
I worked a lot on blending the animations. So, for example, the running animation is made up of like 10 different animations. So, running up of hills, or down hills, or turning, or walking, or sprinting, or normal running. And I used for the jump, I used a method developed by David Rosen, the developer of Overgrowth, which is a way to blend between keyframes. So the jump is made out of 6 keyframes, and then blended with some programming. Yeah.
How do you see your future plans? Where would you like to, or that maybe there's more possibilities, but give us some of how you like to proceed after this great project?
Either I'll continue to develop on the game, or perhaps I'll find a job as a programmer or something like that. Yes.
Okay. Then also okay, is this the end of the video?
Yeah.
If you like it, so I think we have to round up for now. So thank you very much, Casper.
Thank you.
Yes. Very much video. Yeah. Hello, Laura. Hi. Good to see you here. And we're going to take a look at your game, Tiny Goblins, which you made under your graduation period here. And yeah, tell us a little bit about the main aim for your project, or some of the main aims for your project.
So the main aim of Tiny Goblins is non-verbal communication, which is done through mostly visual means. In my case, I have used a bunch of shaders and animation methods and shape language in order to guide the player and the story of the game, and in order to tell a story without using words.
Yeah, so and what are some of the challenges that we had? I can see there's some communication going on between the main goblin and another one here.
Well, the challenge has been playtesting in the current situation of everything. And also because playtesting needs to happen in a very late point when communication itself is the focus and not the gameplay or like central mechanics. So playtesting has been a challenge all the way through.
And otherwise, you also developed some shaders. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it. I think we have something coming up here with a shader.
I've used shaders for many things in this project, mostly animations and like small visual effects. It has been made through the Unity plugin called Amplify, which is a node-based shader language. And it has been used mainly as a problem-solving tool for my part to reduce the workload of animation and various visual effects. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you see your future career? How would you like to proceed after your fantastic project here?
Visual artist or like tech artist to some degree, at least. I just want to work visually with games to whatever extent that means.
Yeah, so that is both the character design, animation, and also here, because you made all the design. So maybe you can tell us a bit about how you did the backgrounds, because there was something with depth of field, etc. that you work?
Yeah, I wanted to combine the look of watercolor with the look of macro photography. So I made a shader that blurs out things that are closer or further away from the camera, as well as changing the color profile in order to both show where you are on the level and to show like what the focus of the character is.
Yeah, so that's also what we see here. Like the backgrounds, they are less saturated and somewhat more blurry in the backgrounds. Yeah. Yes. Okay, you also dove into some theory on the non-verbal. Oh, here I think we have to round up. So thank you very much, Laura, for showing us your project. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, Sam. Good to see you again after the exam. And you had a hello, and you actually made a two-part project, both for the title "I Dream of Neon Night." Maybe you can tell a little bit about it. A collaboration between you and the Danish Film School. So tell us a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I mean, my project is composed of two different sections. The first section is just a kind of collaborative project. I was working with some film school students, true max students, and some other talented talented creatives. In this collaborative project, I was working as a character designer because I was so into characters, so I just follow the directors and to create 2D concept art. But for my own master's project, I just want to challenge myself. I try to create a high quality, a 3D character. For myself, I have to say it's really challenging because I'm not a professional CG artist. I have to learn how to use multiple software. In the very beginning, I have no idea if I can finish this 3D character. But eventually I did it. Yeah.
Yes. And but the first part, first let's talk about. I think you met the partners that you work with here on Deju projects, isn't that right?
Yeah.
On the game collaboration projects that is here in Denmark. And then the first part, because you are an acquainted character designer, so to say, for the first part. So the big challenge was, how do you transfer it to, first of all, make your own character, and then how do you make it in 3D? And what parts did you make there? Because you modeled the character, but you also did more.
So you mean it's about the 3D character?
Yeah, on Loki, the character. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for this case,
that's what in environment.
Yeah. I was working as a concept artist and siege artist, because I cannot get any narrative information from directors, because they have not created the narration for Loki. So I just use some other reference pictures and added the concept art of imprisoned version created by Casper Orson. I use them to create 3D concepts, and then I just developed this 3D concept. And finally I get the final version. I made the textures, and I also rig this character and make very simple environment and just try to bring this character to life.
Okay, I think you managed very well. I think we have to round off. So thank you very much for showing your project. And I think we have a little time now. Do you think your collaboration is going to continue after Corona now with Mark from the film school?
Oh, actually, I mean, I know for now they have not finished this project. I think, I mean, yeah, I expect that I could work with them. I mean, after this, after graduation,
So there's a good chance for that it will continue. Maybe even for more time. And if not, how do you see your career otherwise?
Oh, I mean, I prefer to work as a concept artist or a CG artist. So I would try to find these kind of jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I have already prepared my portfolios.
That's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. Prepared for the future. Thank you very much, Sonic.
Hi, everyone, and congratulations with your graduation. You have now finished your education, and it's time for you to go out into the world and show off your acquired knowledge and skills. I bid you all welcome to the Danish game industry. And I hope that you will not only join existing companies, but that you also want to build your own companies, your own game studios, and want to help expand and evolve the Danish game industry. So enjoy the summer and get out there and spread your talent. And a final word of advice: dream big and don't be a chicken.
Oh, hi, Christian. So thanks a lot for making this project Alter Path. Can you talk a bit about what your motivation for making the project was and what you were trying to achieve?
Hey, so my project tried to research the question how we can design a game environment and integrate it with like the overall game flow and in the individual challenges of the game. So the game I've made is a game called Alter Path, which is a 3D first-person puzzle game where you use gravity manipulation to solve puzzles, and you play as this explorer who has been searching for like this hidden science institute and has like is trying to uncover their secrets and try to figure out what they did at this institute. And you use these gravity manipulating boots to control gravity, and you're able to like walk on walls and ceilings and stuff, and then you use that mechanic to solve the different puzzles that are in the game in this vertical slice of the game, which like would constitute like the beginning of the game. And since I wanted to research how you would do level design, I've worked with stuff like how you could like frame stuff that's important for the players, like interactable objects, and like how I could like focus on make the player focus on like what the goals are. And what's especially been challenging with this specific mechanic is that you know, you have this mechanic where you can change gravity and twist and turn in all kinds of different directions, and that makes like a clarification of like where to go and which way you're looking like really important. Like when you go onto the ceiling, like most players like during early testing would become really like disoriented and not know where to go. So signaling stuff like goals and what you can interact with was like really essential for this game to work.
So that's also what I understood. Like a lot of the project was about trying to kind of guide the player. But I think this is what I always find interesting about kind of puzzle games, right? You're both trying to be very nice to the player and then also trying to be not very nice to the player to confuse them, right? But can you talk a bit about all the roles you played on this project?
Basically everything. I made the graphics and the programming and everything basically, and everything is made from scratch. I got a little bit of help in terms of sound design from one of my friends. Apart from that, everything is made in-house. And Yeah.
And what do you think is the most impressive thing you did, or what are you most proud about?
I guess like the game as a whole, like the fact that like I actually got to make like a working prototype for a game that you can play through from start to finish, and that there's actually like some kind of flow to the game. Like you can feel on the players, like when they play the game from start to finish, that like their competence with the mechanic, it grows, and they get used to like this mechanic, and they adopt all of these new ideas that gets introduced throughout the game. Like you have several mechanics that the players can interact with, like boxes you can pull up, and like platforms that can be rotated to create new pathways. The biggest challenge is like how I could teach these things intuitively without like handing them a manual and telling them what to do. That was like one of the biggest challenges.
So what now? I was wondering, in a way, you did this kind of project where basically you're doing kind of everything. So what are your plans now?
So I kind of imagine myself as being either in a game director or art director position. Now, this hasn't really been an art direction project per se. Like I have done art direction, but for previous projects, although this hasn't really been one of them. But I kind of feel like if you have to do art direction for a game, it really helps if the art director can understand what the game is about, and how the mechanics interact with, or like how the visuals should interact with the mechanics, since you can use visuals as a way to teach players how to do stuff. And that's kind of been something that I've I guess experienced with this project, how effective that tool can be if used correctly.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Christian.
Thanks.
Hi, and welcome, Joachim. So to talk about your project, can you tell a bit about what the goal was with Split Minds? So this is of course a game that tries to do something kind of good in the world.
Yeah, the goal the goal is very much to put emphasis and to put awareness and understanding into the mental illness of schizophrenia. And to actually try to feel that on yourself, and try to have this visceral experience where you go through these everyday tasks every day, and then they progressively get harder, and you get disrupted a lot through the different symptoms. There's a lot of different symptoms that will affect you in different ways throughout the game, and to try to put focus on them and try to transform the players into understanding this a lot better.
So I thought there was something interesting about the way kind of you worked. So you worked with a partner who has this diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about how did that work?
Yeah, well, I worked together with my girlfriend, who was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia 6 years ago, and we worked very much in the way that we tried to do our own version of participatory design, where we figured out what do we want to say with this, and how can we actually show it, what are the most important parts of her experience, and kind of creating a portrait of her experience through this game. And then used a method by Doris Roche about creating a gestalt for the experience. So we figured out what are all the most important elements of it, and try to create metaphors to put in the game, and figure out how can we make the player feel this through this. And then she has been a huge part of the assessment all throughout the entire project, and of course, like making sure that everything is valid and correct to her experience.
So, but can you talk a bit about the way the game works? Is that you're in an apartment, and doing very mundane tasks, and then strange things happen, right?
Yeah, so it's basically you start up, and that's the first day, and you have to wake up, and then you have to go through these tasks that are very simple, and then you start to there starts to be small, like it progresses gradually. So at first there's just small symptoms, and then you go to the next chapter, and then everything becomes hard. Like even waking up in the morning is more of a challenge all of a sudden, and everything is slower and more dreary, and you walk very slowly, and there's these like you have to do conversations with your mother, for example, who as you progress, it gets harder and harder to actually tell her what you're experiencing and what express your emotions. So I'm working a lot with that, on making everything harder as you go and making you feel these like depressive symptoms. But then there's also all these positive symptoms that makes you not want to go into this room, or makes you feel very uneasy. And there's a lot of anxiety. There's the main mechanic of having this anxiety that you have to manage, which makes everything very uncomfortable for the player. That I've gotten a lot of feedback about, like it's very uncomfortable just being in this world. But which is very close to the real experience from what Mette has told me.
So one of the things I found kind of interesting was just that there's this kind of basic kind of method of doing breathing exercises whenever you're kind of agitated, and when you do that, it's very hard not to do it like physically when you're actually playing the game, like you hold down space to do kind of breathing exercises. So, but I wonder, like, what do you think? What's next for the game, and in a way, what's next for you? Like what are the things from this project that you want to kind of take further?
Yeah, well, I wanted to make for this project. First of all, I wanted for myself to create everything except for the sound, because I feel like I want to go in more in the indie direction, where you can create more interesting projects instead of the AAA, which are a lot the same all the time, if you ask me. But I wanted also to like continue working on this project, and I have a collaboration with a sound designer I met last semester at Dadio, and we're planning on actually continuing on creating this experience and making it a lot more interesting, and like especially with soundscapes and more the design, and trying to put it into the real world. And I want to get into contact with some mental health professionals and try to get them to help me with the further development of this game, to help hopefully put it into their practice, and so they can use it.
Great. Thanks a lot, Joachim.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Hi, Lonnie. Thanks for coming.
Do you feel
so let's talk about your project, Why Loneliness Matters. I think this is an interesting project because this is an animation, so it's a bit different from some of the previous projects we saw, but it's also an animation that's kind of meant to kind of make a difference in the world. Can you talk about what's the goal of the project?
Is to put more focus on loneliness and how it affects our mind and our body, and how it affects our health. Yeah, so that's why I made it, to put more focus on it and to have a better understanding of the whole process of if you feel lonely and how it affects you.
But one of the things that was kind of stood out in this project was also you also took on a lot of different roles, right? You reached out to organizations and you read about the literature, and you talked to kind of experts, and you wrote the scripts, and you date the characters, and you made the animations, and so on. I was wondering, are there any particular aspects of that process that you're kind of particularly proud of?
Yeah, that I actually did the animation because I did not have so much experience in animating, and also doing all the research was very interesting, and doing user research, and also doing the script writing. I have never tried that before, so yeah, that was interesting.
So one thing I also thought was interesting, I talked about this in the beginning, one of the ideas of the program is to work a bit across kind of media was that you actually used a game framework, like the transformational framework for making a film. So can you talk about that? Was that weird as a film person to use this game framework, or did it feel like kind of together?
No, it actually makes sense because I took a course in script writing, and there was like it also has to have like an overall goal and like what do you want to tell like you as users, and so it actually made a lot of sense, I think, and also to think about what people get out of your movie at the end. You can like evaluate it, I think.
So great, and now you also, it's a bit like the previous, like I talked to the previous people, like you did a project that includes you having lots of different roles. So
Yes.
What do you see? What do you think is going to happen with this film, your animation, and what are your kind of personal plans? Which parts of this do you want to take further?
I would like to become a bit better at animating, but I think more like user research and making design that has like some kind of purpose, I think is very motivating. So yeah, I think that's what I want to take further from this.
Okay, great. So thanks a lot, Lonnie.
Yeah, thank you.
So hi, Shalev.
Hi.
Hi. So can you tell us a bit about this game with the strange name? So it's
Archipelago, which means a series of islands, a group of islands. So the concept is what I call a cyclical adventure game, which means it's a story game that doesn't have a beginning, middle, and an end. In the movie you're seeing right now, I did like a supercut of like one quest line, but this quest line is something that you can uncover in different ways because every level in the game is mapped into a real world day. So on Monday you have this level, on Tuesday you have this level, and the way you go between them is you just log on different days, and gradually by coming back to levels again and again, you unlock more of their secrets and kind of complete more of the quests in this adventure game.
okay, yeah. So and you only check in like for a few minutes every day, right?
Yes, I'm very inspired by kind of casual gaming and kind of trying to push against the trend of like spending endless hours on video games by making this thing that you have some new content, some new story waiting for you every single day, but it is very limited and it's kind of like a little thing you check in every day, but it's a story game.
I think one of the things you talked about in the game that it was also kind of reflected a kind of personal experience.
Yeah, so the motivation to create it was creating this kind of relationship with the player. But when I looked for what story am I going to tell, the thing that inspired me is, I moved here to Denmark from Israel, and generally the experience of being a stranger in a strange land and the idea of an island country kind of inspired the story of your character is kind of a newcomer to this island country and is moving between the islands.
Oh, great. And then I think perhaps a bit about the game structure you talked about. So it was interesting because I think there's a tendency in kind of indie or artsy or experimental games to be very much based on this kind of pay once model. Like in a way you get the game unit and it's a kind of piece of work that you play for X amount of hours.
Yes.
And one of the things you talked about that you are kind of inspired, you mentioned casual games, but you're kind of inspired by there's even by free to play, right? Which we tend
absolutely
to look down upon in our
yeah
circles.
yeah I started my journey in video games a few years ago, working in a free-to-play games company, and one of my tasks was to design those kind of daily challenges that are kind of frowned upon by the quality game community as this kind of like throwaway mechanic to get players coming back into video games. But I was really interested, what if I made this but sincere? And I think there's an interesting kind of divide in video games between gaming is something you consume, right? There's this kind of a single player story game and you consume it and you're done with it, versus gaming as this kind of ritual or activity you come back every day in casual games, in MMOs and stuff like that you kind of play ritualistically. And I wanted to marry those two things together. So make a story game, but the story game that's kind of a habit. You just kind of casually come back to it every day for a little bit more story. So that's trying to marry those two things into one piece of media.
Okay, and then as a kind of final question, could you talk a bit about your kind of, which of the roles that you played here do you want to kind of continue working on?
So so I work as a game designer. Right now you're in my office. I'm working for Portaplay as a game designer. I'd like to be more of a generalist with this thing. This is my personal project, and one of my goals was to be a generalist. I don't code. I had a ton of help from especially on the code part from a good friend here, Oliver, who's working with me. But yeah, I like when it's my own thing. It's important for me as an artist to kind of try to be as a generalist as I can, and I made most of the things in this game myself.
Great, thanks a lot, Shalev.
Thank you.
Talk about your project, The Curious Case of the Crooked Cats. Can you talk about what was the kind of, how did this project come into being, and what is it about?
So this is a first-person detective game about misinformation, and well, basically you're hired as a professional debunker, where you have to go around and debunk. And well, like how it came, like the inspiration for this was sort of like, I come from Hong Kong, and there was like a phase where I started seeing these fake news day in, day out as I scroll through my mobile. And yeah, I kind of wanted to make something about it. And that's kind of how it became this game in a way.
And so how did you go about, like, how did a general question about misinformation become a game? Like, what were the steps? What did you look at?
Well, so I was looking at these, like how things like misinformation form, like how they spread, or why are they produced, and I tried to incorporate some of these things into the game, which made up which guided a lot of the content creation in the game.
And so can you give us an example of yeah, so you read up on the theory of kind of misinformation and disinformation, right? But can you talk about a bit, like how did that kind of concretely happen? Like what do you do in the game? Like what's the kind of mystery that you're trying to solve, and how do you go about solving it?
Right. So as the story goes in this game, well, a lot of cats have died, and misinformation is kind of obstructing the truth to how or like why they died. So the reason you're hired as a professional debunker is that so then you can go find out what happened. And yeah.
And so if I understand, like, so the game seems to be much about like walking around in a way, kind of reading people's social media messages, right? And trying to figure out.
Yes. So you're exploring in this space. Well, so yeah, you see the dead cats and you go around and try to figure out what is actually going on from things that people post on their social media. And some of them would be like false information, but others might be actually telling the truth, and you'll just have to like figure out and debunk and decide who you want to believe in. And there would also be like supporting information, like articles that you find in institutions or observations that you can make in this world that would prove or disprove some of the things that you hear.
So, but one of the things I thought was interesting also about your kind of process was that I thought you'd do like a very small game, but you ended up doing this kind of very kind of large space with all these like the cafe and all these kind of different spaces. And this is where like can you talk a bit about like how did you use some of your kind of architectural background to make this game?
Well, so I saw those spaces as opportunities where I could kind of like teach players what they can do in order to debunk information, and these spaces would all have their different functions, and that is how I started like planning which parts of the entire well I started blocking out an entire environment, and then I decided which parts of like which chunks would be useful for doing certain things, and that's kind of how I assigned the different functions to them. Yeah.
Great. And what are you is there anything you're most proud of in this game?
I mean, this project is probably the like my first ever thing that I created entirely from scratch, so there's that. But I was also kind of proud of, well, I guess there were content in this that actually made people smile, and it has this, I guess I'm proud of having made something that has some sort of appeal to it, and like an ambience which is kind of whimsical, and yeah.
Okay, great. And then what's next for this game, and what's next for you?
So for this game, I'm actually thinking of maybe completing it, and yeah, like, so right now it is like half complete in terms of plot, but then I was thinking of maybe actually turning it into something that people can play and learn from. But well, yeah, and I would want to focus more on like designing these virtual spaces, or making spaces that have certain functionalities in the game, if that makes sense for you. Yeah, so that would be nice.
Great. So thanks a lot, Teresina.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, and congratulations. My name is Marie Vardel and I graduated in 2018 and now work as an assistant game director at Tactile Games. You're probably all excited, relieved, and a little scared. What does the future hold? When you find a relevant job? Remember that you managed to stay on track for 5 years, and that determination you took can be applied to all aspects of your life. I think my main advice would be to remember that your ability to work with other people is equally as important as your technical skills, so stay open-minded and curious, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you out in the industry.
Yes, hello, I'm Jakob Wille, and I'm an associate professor here at KDK. I'm very proud to present 4 students' final projects, from the very serious to the almost silly. But first of all, Anahit,
Hi.
can you tell us a bit about the purpose of your project and what is it all about?
So my game is an interactive visual novel based on true stories from me and people I know about a girl, Rira, her life in Iran, and her journey after immigration. My purpose was like 2 things. One was that like there's not a lot of people knowing about Iran unless they have a Iranian friend. So one part was to tell more about Iran and like tell more about like how situation there can be like from like people in similar to my situation. And then also I wanted to try to picture the emotions that an immigrant can go through.
So you work very much on the story, I know, and on the different phases of emotions that you go through as an immigrant. Can you tell us a bit about that? I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, so for this game, I did a lot of research and like did a lot of self-thought of my journey. How was it like? And then I started to write the script. So yeah, a big part of the project was writing the script and defining the emotions that I wanted to have during each minigame and each chapter. And then after that, trying to like picture that, have that emotions during the gameplays inside the game.
So it's a personal project as well for you. What does it mean to have made this project come through?
It was a really hard process, thinking about yourself and also like having to like wanting to also tell the story of others as well. But I think it was also a journey to know myself better. And yeah.
And what do you want to do? Make up this? Are you going to work on this in the future, or what? How do you see yourself working in the future?
Yeah, I definitely want to work more on it, and because I think there is like a lot of more possibilities to expand the game, and have the more chapters and yeah, tell the whole story, because yeah, it's a vertical slice, so it's not completed yet.
Okay. Which part are you most proud of? Can you tell us that?
That's a really hard question. I was really thinking about it. Maybe telling the story of a group of people. That's the part. I can tell it more when I find out if I said it in a good way. But yeah, I think yeah, telling the story and trying to tell people about how things are like, I think that's really important, and people need to hear more stories about like different people's life. So yeah, maybe that's the part.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you. One more thing, I wanted to thank Yanis Kuchakodis for doing the programming of the game. Yeah, I forgot.
Okay, thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi Bjørn. Could you tell us a bit about Clean Getaway and the purpose of your project?
Yeah. In Clean Getaway, it's a 2D project for mobile, where the idea is that you are a group of burglars. You break into people's homes at night, but then you start cleaning the whole place. You make it all sparkle. And you work together as a team, and then in the morning you receive points equal to how surprised the homeowners are. One of the points with this project was, for one thing, that I wanted to dive into art direction for mobile games, but I also wanted to have a game idea that did something else than being about stealing gold and getting headshots and stuff. I thought it would be more interesting to elevate like a skill that everyone uses in their everyday life, and try to showcase that as a better thing through mobile games. Yeah,
I think you made a game about something that nobody wants to do. About so how difficult was that?
Well, I thought of it from my own point of view, and I thought if it was silly, and if I got to do things that I didn't get to do in everyday life, then there was a bit more spice to it, a bit more incentive. And then I thought it was really interesting to just have a go at a bunch of different character designs, a bunch of different icon designs, and to figure out the challenges of how to communicate a lot of the different obstacles and solutions to people in game.
So on this project, you saw it's a great idea, but your main thing was to be a character designer. Can you tell us a bit about what you are especially proud of in this project?
Yeah, you say character design, but I was thinking more art direction wise. But character design was definitely one of them, and it's one of the things that I'm the most proud of in this is things like the characters and their designs, and how they work in as a part of the gameplay. Yeah.
So is this the game that we're going to play at once in the future?
I hope so. That could be really cool. I would love to make additional levels and additional obstacles and small storylines to it. That could be amazing. But since I'm no programmer, I haven't delved into that.
So what are your future plans for now?
Right now, I'm working for a game company, and I plan to keep working there. Yeah, so as a 2D artist. So hopefully, I'll get to make much more 2D art.
Okay, great. We're looking forward to that as well.
Same here.
Okay, so thank you, Bjørn.
Thank you.
Bye. So hi, Laurent.
Hi, Jacob.
Hi. Can you tell us a bit about your project and what was the main purpose of it?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because it can get quite complicated quickly. But my game was kind of the culmination of an interest in I wanted to make a 2D EGA point-and-click game merging 3D software, and I wanted to make a game with an unreliable main character who's kind of manipulating you through the game without sort of the player knowing it. And then through that, I kind of ended up with this sci-fi setting where you play like a secret agent who's infiltrating a spaceship that's been taken hostage by some aliens. And then it's kind of all mysterious. So as you play it, you kind of uncover the story as you kind of beat up these aliens through the game.
So what about the title? Okay, Doomer, what is that about? It's a bit mystifying.
Yeah, I mean, OK Doomer kind of came in the process of finding out the story. And it's kind of like, I guess like kind of it represents sort of like, first of all, like, I mean, it's an EGA game, which is 80s. And the character kind of symbolizes these tropes that a lot of heroes from back in that time kind of represents, with like James Bond and all these kind of characters who have sort of values that don't really like follow modern times that well. And then it's also like the game kind of has this plot twist where you kind of realize that you're kind of like controlled by forces bigger than you, which I kind of felt sort of like also symbolized kind of what millennials are claiming kind of boomers did to their generation.
Okay, so and you have a background in underground or experimental comic book storytelling. So how do you relate to video games then?
Well, I mean, I was just curious about it, like, because I kind of feel that games, and it's probably not a new thing, but I feel like definitely, like, as games are more accessible for more people to make, it kind of reflects, I feel, when underground comics really exploded. And so I wanted to kind of do a project that kind of reflects kind of that energy from like the zine culture and things like that.
And from music also, because I know you had a collaboration with a band, so this is not only a video game, it's something more than that.
Hopefully. I mean, my sound designer, who I kind of met through Dadu, I was lucky enough that in terms of music, his band was already making music that really fitted this game really well, and that's kind of turned into talk about, instead of it only being like them making music for my game, that it possibly also could be like me making game for their music, and sort of them using it in like concert situations and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So what are your future hopes as a designer?
I mean, I really like doing independent projects, so I'll always continue doing that, and like I want to develop this game and rework it a bit. And I mean, I also really enjoy working in teams, and so I mean, I'd also like working as a visual artist, or roles in like kind of that field is like I'd also be super interested in, and see what possibilities there are.
Okay, looking forward to it, and see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Matthias, and tell us all about Ruins and what the game is about.
Yeah, so Ruins is a game that I developed from almost from the scratch, and the purpose is to remove as much hand-holding as possible, because I feel like many games today do that they guide the player throughout the game maybe a bit too much. So in this game, I try to remove all that and really focus on exploration and visual storytelling. And as you can see here, you control a character seen from a top view. You collect objects and get different power-ups. And the game is a kind of puzzle platforming game where there's a lot of different puzzles and mechanics that you can try out and explore. And the main goal of the game is mostly exploration and like getting to know the world and the characters, and mostly just getting engaged in the world building I've been creating, and just trying the different mechanics and exploring what they can be used for. And so as you can see, some of the puzzles can be quite easy because there's multiple ways of solving them. So it's very much a game about experimenting as well as exploring.
So you designed most of the game, or all of it actually, except the music score. No, some of the musical score as well. But where do you see yourself in the future? What part of the game are you most comfortable with?
Yeah, I'm really proud of the coding I did on the project. The game has a save and loading system that works really well, I think, and as well as some other technical systems like point collecting and stuff like that. So that's what I'm most proud of, and also just like the whole universe and levels I've created as well.
So where do you see yourself working in a couple of years?
Well, my dream is actually to work on this game a little bit more, but if that doesn't work out, then there's coding and visual art could be really nice to try out.
So main focus of the game was, or your project was to how to guide players.
Without.
How well do you think that you managed that problem?
I think in the beginning you have to teach the players a few things, and then when they learn that they're not going to be helped all the way, then they kind of figure out how to obtain information themselves. So I think it went really well.
This is also a story world, you could say. So how can you describe the structure of the world that this game is?
Yes. Well, you don't really. In the beginning, you don't really get much information about the world, but as you discover it, you will meet different characters, NPC characters that will tell about the world and how they live in it and how it has been developed over the time. So you should feel like you're really in a real world that has like existed before you started the game and will exist after you close the game down, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Matthias. And see you soon.
Hello, and congratulations, class of 2020. I'm Alfred, Creative Director at Throughline Games. I've had the pleasure of visiting you and give a talk back in 2018. Time flies, and now you'll be heading into a greater unknown and an uncertain future. Just when you thought you had left education behind, you'll be learning the hard way that there's yet even more to learn and that it no longer comes served on a platter. But go out there and face the world with courage and humility, and use your special powers as visual artists to interpret existence in new and meaningful ways, enriching those around you and the lives of those around the globe. Congratulations again, class of 2020, and game on!
Yeah, so that's it for today. So I guess this is our final official meeting. So I just want to say I was very happy to see what everybody did. There's just lots and lots and lots of kind of interesting stuff here. And I know we'll be seeing each other. So either like here in Copenhagen or somewhere else. And if there's anything we ever can do for you, if you want to talk about kind of career plans or CVs or something like that, please reach out to us. And to those of you watching, so thanks a lot for watching the show. This was our kind of first online show forced upon us by external circumstances, but I thought it went very well. So Jacob, do you want to say something? And Arthur?
No, I just want to say it's been a real pleasure under difficult circumstances. I think you all did surprisingly, no, I shouldn't say surprisingly, good as expected. So I'm happy to know you and looking forward to see you in the real world in the future.
So let's wave bye-bye to each other and to all the viewers out there. So thanks for tuning in.